Benedict, Colin Pitchfork, who back in the 1980s raped and murdered two 15-year-old schoolgirls in particularly heinous circumstances. He drove them to the woods, and he did it while his own baby was in the back seat of the car. He was busy murdering two teenage schoolgirls and raping them. He served a very long sentence and has never shown any kind of contrition for what he did. But anyway, 2 years ago, he was allowed out. He was released by the parole board and swiftly returned to jail because he was found promptly loitering around outside a girls' school. Now they're letting him out again. They're determined to let this guy out. He's dangerous. Why are they so obsessed with letting this guy out?
I tell you what, it really does sort of fly in the face of what a lot of people say, which is that the United Kingdom is some sort of cruel and backward fascist island. Actually, we're so incredibly kind and tolerant of these people that we give them every possible opportunity to sort of reform themselves, even when they steadfastly refuse. We have to sort of see what it was that the parole board said when they came to their decision. But again, what this man was convicted of is one of those sort of real top-tier, top-echelon crimes that I think makes most people sort of sit there and fail, and struggle to comprehend how you could possibly do it. A murderer and a child sex offender. It's the sort of thing that just absolutely stuns the overwhelming majority of the population because they can't comprehend what could go through someone's mind. And I think most people would say there had better be some really, really good evidence that this person has turned their life around to the point that they are basically a saint before you consider letting them back into the community, given what they've done in the past.
Well, we've also had some years ago, John Warboys, the taxi rapist, the parole board desperate to let him out. By the way, one of his victims was Carrie Johnson, who managed to escape his clutches, but went through a terrible ordeal at this guy's hands. The parole board, and he had many victims, the parole board wanted to let him out. The government stepped in and stopped that. They tried to stop Colin Pitchfork being released. They failed with that attempt. And then on a different sort of tack, but same kind of principle, they recently let Gary Glitter out. He was serving a 16-year prison sentence for sexually abusing little children. 16. They let him out after 8 years, and he was promptly caught perusing the dark web looking for images of children. What is it about the parole board that it's so obsessed with releasing these people that it obviously should not be releasing? And don't tell me it's because we haven't got enough prison cells available. Build more prisons.
That would be one thing that you would have to say is that we don't spend enough on the criminal justice in this country. And that, I'm afraid, goes back to the Conservative government of George Osborne and David Cameron. They slashed the budget of the criminal justice system relatively a bit more than anything else, which when you think about that, that's prison places, that's prison officers, that's police officers. That's kind of staggering, sort of the frontline thing, keeping people safe, keeping dangerous criminals behind bars. The Tories just went, that doesn't matter, that can go out the window. But I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that parole boards in this country, perhaps they want to believe, or perhaps they are too easily viewed by people who present a certain face to suggest that they are reformed and just aren't. I think that there just perhaps needs to be a little more cynicism, maybe. And, you can be accused of being too cynical in life, but these are, as you point out, sex offenders, they're murderers, child sex offenders. These are the most manipulative and dangerous of people. They're the ones you have to apply the extra level of cynicism to and skepticism to when you're considering what their motivations might be.
You really do, and you cannot rehabilitate a paedophile. End of story. It is ridiculous. But great to talk to you, Benedict. Thank you.